The purpose of today's discussion is to identify ways to make this fledgling economic recovery move faster and become stronger and more inclusive, as Marc Morial spoke about. And today, even though the overall unemployment rate is starting to shrink a little bit in Illinois and in the nation, the Federal Reserve is predicting that small economic growth over the remainder of the year, just few signs pointing to the economic gains for people of color. So we want to direct our first question to Warren, who is on the state level. Economists, of course, are calling this the worst recession since World War II. Marc talked about 30 million out of work. Some numbers say 14 million are out of work. Well, some African American communities that are right down the street from where we are today are reporting unemployment rate of 30%. 1 in 3 are out of work. So just take a moment. What sorts of things are you seeing? What are you hearing on the state level? And what do you think people can do to help their search for work here in the state of Illinois?
Thank you. It's a good question, difficult question. We are seeing some signs of recovery. Unemployment rate in the state has dropped for 13 consecutive months, and Illinois is adding net new jobs. But we do understand that there are many communities and neighborhoods that are still hurting, and as has been said earlier, we have a long way to go. There are two key things we have to focus on. One is jobs and the role of government to help stimulate that employment. We got a temporary boost from President Obama's federal stimulus plan, and we are just now fully implementing Governor Quinn's Illinois Jobs Now capital construction plan that has a number of programs designed to address job creation in economically depressed neighborhoods. The other area we have to focus on, has been said, is job training. That's one of the few areas where Governor Quinn has actually called for a budget increase in next year's budget, and we have to fight to keep reductions in workforce training at the federal level through the Workforce Investment Act.
So how come, and all three of you can answer this question, in a country where African Americans, people of color, make up only 12% of the United States, how come so many are being left behind in this, what we call recovery of this economic disparity?
Well, Cheryl, if I can add, I run one of the most critical systems to this city, which is the community college. We talk about the recession and how it affects minorities. Let's talk about the things that affected them prior to a recession. So I came up through this system. This system put me back on track. This system gave me my chance. The recession for many people that I see coming through our system is just a big add-on. Our students were coming to us with many issues, trying to balance family, trying to balance work. A lot of what they lacked is just pure hope. A lot of what they lacked is the ability to know that they could succeed, and this was an institution that could allow them to do that. So when we talk about the recession, that's only one part of the equation. We should be able to create good educational systems that provide them with good training. But before we can do that, we have to instill in their spirits that their circumstances do not dictate their destiny. And that's what I hope I will bring personally to this institution. So that's a big part of what we struggle with at city colleges, is providing them with the appropriate hope, the appropriate supports for everything else that they're dealing with.
That brings me to a thought when you said about you're not determined by your zip code. I remember interviewing some young ladies in South Africa when Oprah was opening her school, 12-year-olds. And I asked them, why do you want to get in this school so bad when she was opening it? She said, because if I don't get in, my future will be determined by my circumstances and not my dreams. So this is a tech world we're living in, the internet, Facebook, tweeting, Twittering, all of that good stuff, Shelley. You have to include technology when you talk about recovery for anybody, and especially people of color.
Absolutely. I think there's a couple issues at play here. I think one of the first issues for people who don't have the technology skills, one of the challenges is getting access to the programs where they can get those skills. Some of it is as basic as not having internet in the home, and there's a big push coming out of Washington, D.C. with the BTOP program, which will get more accessibility out to people. At the same time, a lot of people don't understand that they can go to their public libraries, which are very prevalent, and we have a wonderful, rich resource in the Chicagoland area and throughout the state. And the libraries have internet access throughout Chicago, and there are job skills programs there. Microsoft has a program called Elevate America, and I urge all of you, and Warren knows this program well, to please tell your friends and your colleagues who may be challenged as far as technology skills jobs. Elevate America is free to any U.S. citizen. It's in over 22 languages. You do need internet access to take the job skills training classes online, but if you can get to a library, if you can go to an after-school program, if you can go to the Chicago Urban League, which provides these kinds of programs, and get those skills, it's all self-taught, and that becomes the baseline. But, you know, technology skills are simply the baseline. I mean, obviously you have to have education, you have to have the values, but there aren't, when Marc talked about future jobs, I mean, those are all going to require basic technology and computer skills.
Because you can't even fill out an application now unless you do it on the internet. It's not face-to-face.
Right.
You might get a phone call follow-up interview, but now you have to apply online for most internships, most jobs. Professor Cornel West, Dr. Cornel West of Princeton University just said recently, I think it was yesterday, that I want to quote him and exactly talk about, he was talking about the recovery and the bailout and how we are coming out of what some people believe is out of the recession, but he said that the bailout has not trickled down to the workers. What you have is organized greed at the top from the rich and powerful and disorganized chaos from the bottom where the poor exist. And he was talking about a recent report that CEOs are making more, but the workers are making less. They were saved in the bailout, but the workers who are keeping the businesses together are not benefited. How do you address that problem?
See, I would, if I can start, I would change the paradigm. And I would urge all of us and the people that we meet with, Cheryl, in the programs that you have at the colleges, Warren, the programs you support, that all of us basically try to change the paradigm and have every individual think about, where can I become an entrepreneur? What kind of passion do I have? What do I really care about? What are my skills? Layer technology, digital literacy on top of that, and then be in charge and run your own business. I mean, to me, that's how things are going to accelerate. It won't be where people are waiting for and looking for a job. I mean, that's important, but I think that the real growth is going to come from, to your point, you know, the bottom up, and have it blossom and flourish by people taking charge of their own destiny.
Warren, when you all allocate some kind of business agreement or business is allocated, how do you determine if it is a person of color, a company of color that is actually running the business? When big contracts are awarded, a lot of times the percentage says you must award it to 40% person of color. How, or is there somebody regulating that when the business allocation actually goes out?
Yes, there is at the state level, and it happens more with projects through the Illinois Department of Transportation or the Capital Development Board. There are specific requirements that have been enhanced over the past few years to make sure that those contracts are going to minority-based firms or just firms in economically depressed areas. We also have programs in play when we're working with businesses that if they are locating in areas that have greater access to mass transit or have greater access to affordable housing for people they'll be hiring, that we can actually give increased incentives to that, and we do that.
Shelley, you talked about recreating and doing your own thing and pushing yourself and branding your own self. A lot of people don't know about that because in October of 2010, an issue of Newsweek, economist Robert Samuelson wrote that entrepreneurship won't instantly cure America's job deficit, but without it, there is no strong recovery. With all of that in mind, what is happening in the state of Illinois to encourage and support business startups, because a lot of people are forgoing their dream and saying, I can't do it because it's not there. How would you say going green, health services, education, and social media plays in now new business startups, and should it? Or should they be looking somewhere else for business startups?
I think it plays a huge part, Cheryl. But when we talk about entrepreneurship, we're not just talking about the ability to open up your own business. We're talking about the ability to self-advocate. And that takes a lot of entrepreneurial skills. As we are developing future employees for the city of Chicago and beyond, what we've heard from employers is that we need good communicators, we need critical thinkers, we need people who are really good in math and other. So you're developing an entrepreneurial spirit, whether you want to carry that into somebody else's business or into your own. But you mentioned some very critical areas of education that we need to be preparing for. Marc talked about preparing people for the jobs of the future. And let me just give you a sort of a picture of what that looks like. So by 2018, about 64% of jobs in Illinois, which is about 4.4 million, will require some form of post-secondary degree. 1.5 million of those will be for holders of associate's degrees coming out of my institution, hopefully. By 2020, Chicago will need about 75,000 more healthcare practitioners. We'll need about 10,000 more computer programmers and technology jobs. These are the types of analyses we need to be doing on a daily basis, and we need to be working in institutions like mine to ensure that our programs and our curriculum reflect those needs, so we are training our students for those appropriate positions, whether they want to start their own business or whether they want to take it on someplace else. If we do not, it will increasingly be most of our students' only chance of becoming a part of the middle class.
Do you have specific programs over the colleges that promote and encourage ideas and dreaming and vision?
Yes, we do. Right now, we've launched a major initiative called the reinvention of city colleges. And many community colleges across the nation are reinventing themselves in one form or another, whether they call it that or call it something else. They don't have another choice. We must figure out how to couple access with success and realize it's not enough just for our students to walk through our doors, but they need to succeed. One of the things we're doing is a complete total program overhaul. We're analyzing every single program that we have. We're bringing in industry experts who work with us all the time. Shelley has had a lot of conversations with us about that. And then we're taking students within those specific programs. I'll give you an example. Business is one of the fastest growing industries in Chicago with great lifetime earnings. But we only have 508 students in that program, and not all 508 graduated. But it's no fault of theirs. We need to be telling them, advocating to them, here's where the growth opportunities are, here's where you can make good career choices, give them the programs, and then give them an employer on the other side. And that's exactly what we're doing.
May I jump on that? I'd just like to jump on top of that too, because I also believe that we have to start working with our children earlier in the high school level on entrepreneurial skills, as well as obviously technology skills. There's a couple great programs in Chicagoland today. The Chicagoland Entrepreneurial Center has a program called Future Founders. It's with Chicago Public Schools, about 7 schools, about 220 kids. And working with the National Foundation for Teaching Entrepreneurship, and I think there's 7 or 8 corporate partners that support the program. The students have an extra curriculum all throughout their school year at the junior and senior level where they learn entrepreneurial skills, and then they have a competition which is coming up in May. It's this type of a program where it's sustainable and it's embedded in what the students are learning that I think at the age of 16 and 17 plants those seeds of entrepreneurship.
Even younger.
Even younger would be better.
Marc Morial was talking about pre-K. You're never too young to learn about money. I know I got my first passport at 10 years old, and that's when we started saving money. I knew the value. I was a paper girl too, so I had to make money at 12.
Right.
And you like to see the money grow.
Right.
But we are in the late hour. We're going to have to wrap this up, so I'm going to give you guys one quick question that all 3 of you can answer as we close. All of you are experts in your respective areas: higher education, Cheryl, of course, technology for Shelley, and Warren, the workforce development. Well, if you could wave a magic wand, I dream of Jeannie, and you could do one thing to accelerate the economic recovery and help the workers in Chicago and the state of Illinois, one thing, That's all you get is one thing. What would you do?
I think what I would do is I would focus on preventing unemployment by ensuring that every child in Chicago and the state of Illinois, number one, completes high school, and they complete high school with a roadmap, either to vocational school, more of an advanced degree, or to be an entrepreneur, so that they know where they're going, and it's a planned program for them where they get the tools, they get the resources, and they frankly get the adult role models working with them to help make that happen.
Warren?
Sure. If I could wave my magic wand, I'd make sure that we had better integration of all those services between the business community, between community-based organizations and educational institutions. But then finally, just to make sure that, particularly at this fragile time in our recovery, that we are not reducing funding to job training and education training programs. As Morial said earlier, we have to, the lens from which we should be viewing all this is from a job creation perspective, and we can demonstrate, and we know that funding to education and job training creates and sustains jobs. So we just got to keep that funding going right now during this critical time.
Okay, and Cheryl?
I would take my magic wand and eliminate the need for remediation. I would ensure that every single student who graduated from high school graduated college ready. I think I hear a lot of times, and we have a whole team that's working very closely with CPS. We're getting ready to start some early intervention and some programs over the summer. And so this is an issue that we have to address. We don't have another choice, but it should not be an issue that we accept as the norm. Community colleges should be focused on fulfilling those 1.5 million jobs and not having students discouraged by knowing that they're repeating high school twice. So I would wave my wand to remediation.
Some excellent ideas. Thank you so much for participating in the panel. We'll just wrap it up. Preventive education, plan tools, adult role models. Warren talked about better integration from all the institutions, and do not reduce funding and training. Very important. And then Cheryl brought up the group talking about elimination of the remediation. It's not acceptable in 2011. Some very good thoughts. I know your time is valuable and your knowledge is even more valuable. So thank you for sharing on this Tuesday afternoon. Thank you everybody for your attendance today. I think Andrea is going to come back up. And thank you for listening to us.
Thank you.
Let's give a big round of applause to our panel who took time out of their schedules to be here, and to Cheryl Burton, moderator extraordinaire. Thank you.